The emptiness you feel inside may be God calling you closer. The emptiness that follows you everywhere. You try to stay busy so you do not have to think about it. You scroll through your phone, watch videos, talk to people, work harder, laugh louder, and pretend everything is normal. But the moment the room becomes quiet, the feeling comes back again. That emptiness, that weight inside your chest you cannot explain. There are people listening to this right now who have everything they once prayed for and still feel completely lost. You thought success would fix it. You thought love would fix it. You thought time would fix it. But no matter how much you achieve, something inside still feels missing. And the most dangerous part is that nobody around you notices it. You smile in public while silently fighting battles nobody can see. You keep telling yourself this feeling will disappear tomorrow, but tomorrow comes, and the emptiness is still there waiting for you. What if that feeling is not random? What if the emptiness inside you is not weakness, depression, or failure? What if God is trying to get your attention? Most people run from silence because silence forces them to hear what their soul has been screaming for years. That is why distractions have become an addiction. People are terrified of sitting alone with their own thoughts because deep down, many already know something is missing spiritually. And sometimes God allows emptiness because nothing else can bring a person back to Him. What you are about to hear may completely change the way you see the pain, confusion, and loneliness you have been carrying inside. Because there is one truth most people never realize until it is too late. The emptiness you feel inside may actually be God calling you closer. The world is distracted, but the soul is starving. People have never been more connected and more empty at the same time. Every day the world gives you more entertainment, more noise, more distractions, more ways to escape your thoughts. Yet millions of people still go to sleep feeling emotionally exhausted and spiritually numb. That is not an accident. The world has trained people to feed every craving except the soul. The moment sadness appears, people open their phones. The moment silence arrives, they search for distraction. Nobody wants to sit still long enough to ask the deeper question. Why do I still feel empty? There are people chasing money while losing their peace. People surrounded by attention while secretly feeling alone. People smiling in pictures while silently breaking inside. The world keeps offering temporary comfort for an eternal hunger. And that hunger never disappears. Because your soul was not created to survive on distractions. It was created for the presence of God. That is why temporary pleasure fades so quickly. That is why some people achieve everything they wanted and still feel restless inside. The human soul can consume entertainment all day and still feel spiritually starving at night. The enemy knows that a distracted mind rarely seeks God deeply. That is why modern life is filled with constant noise, endless scrolling, endless comparison, endless stimulation. The goal is simple. Keep people busy enough that they never confront what is happening inside them spiritually. But eventually the distractions stop working. Eventually the silence becomes louder. Eventually a person reaches a moment where they realize nothing in this world can heal what only God can touch. And that realization changes everything. The most dangerous thing about emptiness. The emptiness itself is not the real danger. The real danger is spending your entire life trying to escape it. Most people never stop to understand why they feel empty. They only look for faster ways to silence the feeling. Some numb themselves with entertainment. Others bury themselves in work. Some chase relationships hoping another person will heal what is broken inside them. But no distraction lasts forever. Sooner or later, the silence returns. And when it returns, many people panic because they are finally face to face with the condition of their own soul. That is why some people cannot sit alone in a quiet room for even a few minutes. Silence exposes what noise tries to hide. It reveals the anxiety, the confusion, the loneliness, and the spiritual distance people try so hard not to confront. Many are not afraid of being alone. They are afraid of hearing what their soul has been trying to tell them for years. There comes a moment when God allows a person to feel the emptiness more deeply, because comfort was keeping them spiritually asleep. Sometimes the pain people hate the most becomes the very thing God uses to wake them up. Think about how many people only started seeking God seriously after life broke them, after disappointment, after loss, after emotional exhaustion, after reaching the end of themselves. Because when everything else fails, the soul finally becomes honest. And maybe that is exactly where you are right now. Maybe God allowed the emptiness because He knew nothing else would slow you down enough to listen. Maybe the reason you feel restless is because your soul was never meant to live disconnected from the one who created it. And in the next part, you will understand something most people never notice about the way God calls people closer to Him. God often calls people through brokenness. Most people think God only moves through peace, blessings, and perfect moments. But throughout history, God has often spoken the loudest during seasons of emptiness, isolation, and brokenness. Moses was alone in the wilderness before discovering his purpose. David spent years hiding in caves before becoming king. Elijah reached a point of emotional exhaustion where he wanted to give up completely. Jonah found himself isolated in darkness after running from God. Even Jesus was led into the wilderness before beginning his mission. There is a pattern many people never notice. God often removes the noise before revealing direction. The wilderness was never meant to destroy them. It was meant to prepare them. That changes the way you see your pain. Because maybe this season is not punishment. Maybe God is stripping away the distractions, the false comforts, and the things that kept your soul asleep. Maybe the emptiness you hate is creating space for something eternal to enter your life. Some of the strongest faith is built in lonely seasons nobody else understands. That is why God sometimes allows people to reach emotional exhaustion, not because He abandoned them, but because He wants them to stop depending on things that can never truly save them. And the truth is, many people only discover God deeply after realizing the world cannot heal them. Maybe that restless feeling inside you is not proof that God is far away. Maybe it is proof that He is closer than you think. Because sometimes God whispers through peace, but other times He speaks through the emptiness that refuses to leave until a person finally looks up and listens. The emptiness may be God pulling you closer. There is a reason nothing in this world has been able to fully satisfy your soul. Deep inside, you already know it. The distractions help for a moment. The achievements feel exciting for a season. The attention, the money, the relationships, the entertainment all create temporary relief. But eventually, the emptiness returns. Because the soul cannot be filled with temporary things. Many people spend years trying to cure a spiritual hunger with physical distractions. That is why they keep repeating the same cycle. They search for peace in places that only leave them emptier than before. But what if the emptiness is not meant to destroy you? What if it is guiding you? Sometimes God allows a person to feel disconnected from the world because He is trying to reconnect them to Him. Sometimes the loss of satisfaction is actually spiritual awakening beginning inside the soul. You start noticing things differently. The things that once excited you no longer fulfill you. The noise becomes exhausting. The fake connections feel empty. You begin craving peace you cannot explain. That is not weakness. That is your soul recognizing it was created for something eternal. The world teaches people to ignore that feeling. God uses that feeling to draw people closer, and maybe this is why you clicked on this video today. Not by accident, not randomly. Maybe a part of your soul is tired of running, tired of pretending, tired of searching everywhere except the place where true peace actually exists. Because real peace does not begin when life becomes perfect. It begins when a person stops running from God. And in the next part, you may recognize signs in your own life that God has been calling you closer for much longer than you realized. Signs God may be calling you closer. One of the clearest signs God is calling someone closer is when the things of this world suddenly stop satisfying them the way they used to. The same distractions no longer work. The same habits feel empty. The same lifestyle that once felt exciting now feels emotionally draining. And many people do not realize what is happening. They think something is wrong with them when in reality their soul is waking up. Maybe you have felt it recently. You are surrounded by people but still feel disconnected. You try to enjoy the things everyone else enjoys, but something inside you feels distant. There are moments at night when your mind becomes heavy for no clear reason. You feel restless, even when life looks normal on the outside. Sometimes God allows that discomfort because comfort was keeping you spiritually asleep. Another sign is the sudden desire to pray again after a long time away from God. Not because someone forced you to, not because religion pressured you. Something inside simply starts searching for Him again. You begin thinking about eternity more deeply. You question your purpose. You feel convicted about things you once ignored easily. Even silence starts feeling different because your soul is no longer satisfied living far from God. And the strange part is that many people experience these moments right before a major transformation in their life. Before healing, before surrender, before spiritual awakening. The enemy wants people to believe emptiness means God abandoned them. But many times emptiness is actually evidence that God is drawing a person out of the life that was slowly destroying them. And if these signs sound familiar, there is something you need to understand before it is too late. Ignoring the call of God never makes the emptiness disappear. It only makes the soul feel even farther from peace. What happens when people keep ignoring the call? A person can ignore the voice of God for years and still look completely fine on the outside. That is what makes it dangerous. The smile still exists. The routine continues. Life keeps moving forward. But inside, the soul slowly becomes colder, heavier, and more exhausted. Because every time people silence the emptiness instead of understanding it, they move farther away from the peace they are truly searching for. At first, distractions seem enough. More entertainment, more noise, more temporary pleasure. But eventually those things stop working the way they used to. The emptiness grows stronger because the soul was never designed to live disconnected from God. That is why some people feel emotionally drained all the time, without understanding why. Their spirit is tired. Their heart is tired. They keep feeding the flesh while starving the soul. And the longer people run from God, the louder the emptiness becomes. Some become numb emotionally. Others lose hope without realizing it. Many start believing life has no deeper meaning because they have spent so long disconnected from the one who gives life meaning in the first place. The frightening part is that a person can become so distracted that they stop recognizing the spiritual battle happening inside them. They mistake distractions for healing. They mistake comfort for peace. They mistake survival for purpose. But deep down, the soul always knows when something is missing. That is why no amount of success can fully remove the emptiness. No relationship can permanently heal it. No achievement can silence it forever. Because the emptiness was never asking for more of the world. It was asking for God. And in the next part, everything changes. Because there comes a moment when a person stops running, stops hiding, and finally responds to the voice that has been calling them all along. The moment, everything changes. There comes a moment when a person becomes tired of pretending they are okay. Tired of carrying silent pain. Tired of searching everywhere for peace. And still feeling empty inside. And sometimes that moment becomes the beginning of a completely different life. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because the soul finally stops running from God. Many people think they need to fix themselves before coming back to Him. They believe they need to become stronger, cleaner, more worthy, more spiritual. But God has never waited for perfect people. He reaches people in broken moments, exhausted moments, desperate moments. That is why some of the deepest encounters with God happen when a person reaches the end of themselves. Maybe that is where you are right now. Maybe this emptiness was never meant to destroy you. Maybe it was meant to bring you here, to this exact moment where your heart is finally open enough to listen. Because God knows how to speak to the part of you nobody else can see. He sees the hidden anxiety, the loneliness, the nights you overthink everything, the exhaustion you hide behind your smile, the questions you are afraid to say out loud. And despite all of it, He is still calling you closer, not with shame, not with condemnation, but with love. The kind of love that does not disappear when people fail. The kind of love that keeps reaching for a person even after years of running away. And maybe for the first time in a long time, You can stop pretending you are fine. You can stop carrying everything alone. You can stop searching for peace in places that keep leaving you empty. Because the peace your soul has been searching for was never far away. And what happens after this decision can completely transform the direction of your life. The emptiness inside you is not the end of your story. The enemy wants people to believe their emptiness means they are too far gone, too broken, too lost, too disconnected from God to ever change. But that is not the truth. Some of the people God used most powerfully were once exhausted, confused, afraid, and spiritually broken. Their transformation began the moment they stopped running and finally opened their heart to Him. And maybe that is exactly what is happening to you right now. Maybe the emptiness inside you was never meant to be permanent. Maybe it was a wake-up call, a signal that your soul was created for more than endless distraction, emotional survival, and temporary satisfaction. Because no matter how hard people try, nothing in this world can replace the presence of God. Not success, not attention, not pleasure, not money, nothing. That is why your soul kept feeling restless. It was searching for home. And the beautiful part is this: God is still calling you closer even after every mistake, every failure, every moment you felt distant from Him. His love does not disappear because someone struggles. His mercy does not run out because someone feels weak. Sometimes the emptiness becomes the doorway that leads a person back to God. And years from now, many people will realize the season they hated the most was actually the season that saved them spiritually. So if this message reached your heart today, do not ignore it. Do not silence what your soul is feeling. There is a reason this video found you at this exact moment in your life. God may be trying to reach you before the world completely hardens your heart. And the moment you stop running toward distractions and start moving toward Him, everything inside you begins to change.